Hello and thanks for joining me today. I am Olamide Unifade, your host on Space and Style, a show that dissects the interesting world of real estate, architecture, interior design trends, and much more. So today we're going to be having a very important conversation around a very pertinent issue in property transactions, and that is the importance of a land survey. Have you ever been involved in a sale of land or probably the acquisition of an existing property, and every professional involved is screaming the word survey plan, and you're wondering what exactly is this document? Or have you ever been involved in a land dispute drama and everyone is also screaming survey plan? Don't worry, in a moment I'll be joined by leading experts in the survey industry who will be helping us to answer all these questions and many more. And in addition to the main discussion, we have Eniola Onola. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Precise Lighting, who will be sharing valuable tips on the various uses of light in various areas of our homes. And lastly, on the artisan spot, we have, as usual, an artisan who is coming here to discuss his craftsmanship with us. It is very important that we hear from these artisans, so we need to hear from them. Okay, you're welcome to the show. But before we dive into the main conversation, please stay with us. We're going to go for a short break and we'll be back in a moment. Thank you for staying with us, and to dive right into the discussion, I have Mr. Akinloye Oyegbola, FNIS, FNIE, PPNIS, PPAPBN. I guess you don't know what all this means. I don't know either. Okay, a fellow of the Nigerian Institution of Surveyors, a honorary fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, and he's also the immediate past president of the Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria, and he's also the managing partner of Akinloye Oyegbola and Associates. He has over 30 years of experience, and he's right here with me in the studio. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
I had to take a deep breath. FNIIPPAPPPPP.
All is well.
And I was going to ask, what's the appellation for surveyors? Do you go by surveyor? Because I've heard town planner.
Yes.
Where
it's extremely necessary for us to differentiate among those professions, especially in the built industry, we use them. Okay,
but in private capacity?
But with us, ours is SURV, Surveyor. SURV first. That's Surveyor.
So do you take offense if somebody doesn't approve?
No, when you ask me for my name is not Surveyor. When you ask me for my name, I'll tell you I'm Akinloye Oyegbola.
But doctors will say I'm a doctor.
If it's necessary, if the profession is relevant, then I will add that I'm a surveyor.
Like when people address me, I'm also a lawyer, and when people address me as a barrister, I address them as Colinton. I don't like the appellation. Honestly, I just go by my name, whether it's barrister, Mrs., Chief, whatever.
But I think in some environments it's good that we differentiate.
Very well, very well, very well. Okay, to dive into the conversation, because we barely have time. You'll be shocked. Within a moment, we are out of time. What is the importance of a survey plan in relation to real estate transaction? Because I remember that when we were having conversation before we came into the studio, you were telling me that what we have brought you to talk about is just a very minute part of your profession. And I was wondering, you even talked to me, you told me about the issue that you survey the sky.
From the sky.
It's called survey. Anyway.
And from the sky.
Okay, sir. For the purpose of this discussion, please limit it to the very negligible part of your profession, and that is the survey plan. So for a layman who is a first-time buyer, who is just getting involved in a real estate transaction, what is the importance of a survey plan?
Well, in the first place, the survey plan is one of the end products of a rigorous survey exercise. The stages are, we have what we call data acquisition, data processing, and that survey plan depicts the third stage, which is the presentation stage for the purpose for which it was made. Without missing words, we want to believe that the one we are talking about now is supposed to be a cadastral survey plan. That's a cadastral survey plan. That's the one that is prepared mainly for ownership of parcels of land and title registration.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's it. So that is a survey plan, and it is very important in such transactions because of the level of technological development. It affords us the opportunity to prepare an adequate representation of the land with all its features, both artificial and natural ones, such that whoever lays his hand on them will be able to know so much about the parcel of land without getting there.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. What are the features of a good survey plan? Because a number of us, we are not in the industry, and it's very pertinent that we have it with our title document. But somebody will just give me a piece of paper. He says, that is the survey plan. And sometimes you get to the Surveyor General's office and they say this is not a proper one. So to my own eyes, to the untrained mind, how do I identify when I see it to say, I watched a program and I remember that an authority in this industry said these are the things I should look out for? So please, go on.
Let me start from the title itself. The survey plan will have the identity of the owner. That's the name of the owner. It will have the address of that parcel of land. It will have the scale to which it's being represented on paper, because we know that the area being represented is far bigger than that piece of paper that we are holding on to. And there is a medium which we make that possible. That's the scale. Now it will still have the area of that parcel of land that has been surveyed. Now one other thing that will be there at the top will be the origin. It may not be too relevant in this discussion. It's strictly technical for charting. Now, coming down to the plan itself, we can see that whatever we look at will give us the shape, though the area has been written up there. But when we look at it, we can appreciate the shape of the land. But for the surveyor, apart from that shape that the layman says, it must have the bearing and distances of those lines, and each turning point will have its appropriate beacon, both prefix, number, and suffix.
Hey, sir, I said explain in layman terms.
Oh, okay.
Hey, explain in layman terms.
Without wasting time, I think what's far more important are the coordinates that must be represented on that particular fig that layman is. But most importantly, what makes that piece of paper a survey plan that can be acknowledged and recognized by the Surveyor General's office, like you've made reference to, is the signature of the surveyor. The surveyor must have taken responsibility for
the authenticity of that document.
For that drawing, and that is for authenticity. The accurate preparation of it is being ascertained with that, and that all that had been through, right from the data acquisition stage, the processing stage, before it gets to that presentation stage, had tried as much as possible to abide by the survey rules and regulations as it governs the practice of the profession in that particular state.
Okay, so
one other thing is on the left side will be the plan number for record purposes. Yes, for record purposes. But the most important thing there is
the signature.
The signature.
So if there's no signature, I shouldn't even bother.
No, it's just a piece of paper. No. Let's put it that way. Everybody has a signature. If there is no signature of a surveyor, then it's not
just a piece of paper. So who should be drafting a survey plan?
At the end of the day,
I'm sorry to butt in, because I find out in my course of work, I mean survey, survey technician, survey technologist, people, so it's registered surveyor. Please explain. Who should we be talking to?
The surveyor, because he's the person that was going to take responsibility for whatever he signs, determines at what stage he will sign. But in the service delivery, just like any other profession, in the service delivery chain, we have the survey assistant, we have the survey technician who is an OND holder, we have the survey technologist who holds the HND, and we have the pupil surveyor. And whoever has the degree or its equivalent is a pupil surveyor. And he is ready after 2 years of his registration with our council to start taking the final examinations that will make him or her a surveyor.
Okay, so if I am to approach a surveyor, what should I be asking for to determine who he is? How do I know it's a because they're always saying registered surveyor. Registered surveyor. Who is a registered surveyor? And how do I determine who a registered surveyor is?
By law, a surveyor is a surveyor. When he says it's a surveyor, it's because it's registered. And that's why we've qualified all this that used that particular word surveyor in the delivery chain. We have the survey assistant, we have the survey technician, we have the survey technologist, and we have the pupil surveyor.
Okay, so who you should be dealing with?
So you should be dealing with the surveyor.
A surveyor. Okay. So once he's a surveyor, it's assumed he's registered. So what should I ask for? How do I know he's a surveyor?
For instance, it depends on if it's in Lagos State, there's so much that we had done that is there on the net for you to verify. We have a directory there. We have an association of private practicing surveyors that has a directory on the net for you to verify. So you will first ask the question and let him answer. If he says he's a surveyor, then you can verify.
Okay, quickly, what is the difference between a registered survey plan and a provisional survey plan? Because I was involved in one transaction and I asked the vendor of the property that, can we see your survey plan? And he said, oh, I have it. When I saw it, it was a provisional one. And he said, it also works. I know it doesn't work, but for an average lay person who might also be in this situation, what is the difference and what should I be accepting in such a situation?
Thank you. If it's for land transaction, what the provisional survey plan could be a survey plan that is presented at whatever stage of the exercise that had not been completed. That's why it's provisional. So if you want to know how far the person had gone and things like that, then you still call it provisional, you still produce something for you. But in as much as it doesn't have that survey plan, that signature on that survey plan, the signature of the surveyor on that survey plan, then it is not yet.
So how does it affect the transaction?
Now,
buying a land without.
You know what? Most times in practice, what necessitates this issue of provisional survey plan is the fact that the state government, that's Lagos State government, had an edict that mandates a surveyor to put it on the plan. That whether a plan is within government, whichever government acquisition or not, whether it's within acquisition or not. And we know what happens when you give a plan to an individual and you put the stamp there. And he had
committed land.
Yes, it may not be quite committed, but it's still under, because there are different types of acquisitions.
Yes.
So it may not be committed. It may be something that could still be ratified.
Okay, he might be hoping to buy that property for residential purposes, and that land is designated for farmland. So it's going to be there, isn't it?
No, you're not going to specify whether it's farmland or whatever. You're only going to say it's government land.
So before we had this
That's
conversation,
zoning. That's what the government has zoned it for. But it still remains government land. So,
but I heard your association is in court with the government because of this requisition. But I think it's in the best interest of the buyer. So why are you in court because of that? A survey plan should carry the identity of that land. And it should, the primary focus should be as a purchaser to know if that land is under government acquisition or not. So it should be on the surface of it. So why is your association against that?
if the client will pay for the services rendered, then we wouldn't be fighting for it.
How do you mean?
Most times, when they see that stamp, which could have come only after the whole exercise had been completed, after you had done the job and your remuneration is due, when he now sees that stamp, he may even leave that plan with you and he won't collect again.
Okay, so now.
So whereas that same individual still has to take that plan for whatever, if he wants to use it for anything with government, he has to still take it back to the
and he would know at that time
office for survey for land information.
But when he gets there, he would know if he's
He will know.
So you shouldn't be bothered at that point. You should not, your association should not be bothered. So what you're talking about is your own remuneration.
Oh yes, we are bothered about our remuneration.
I don't think so. I think people will get used to it. But if it's a government regulation, if it's a requirement, people will get used to it. And I think it saves a lot of headache for you.
Experience.
For surveyors too, because you're always in court, bearing witness as experts on the issue of land disputes.
Yes, please.
So it even saves a lot of drama, a lot of problems. If at the inception is written, it's embossed right on it that this land is subject to government acquisition, and you go ahead and construct on it and all that, I think it's better.
Do you know that most times these individuals have already paid? It's okay. Well, it's okay. You know the way you put in it. It's okay.
That is why you should chat it before buying.
If you chose, listen, we don't have any responsibility to that client unless he tells us to do something for it.
That is why it's advisable to chat it before you pay for the survey plan.
Before who pays?
The purchaser. Okay, say for instance,
he has to visit the surveyor.
Yes.
Before pay.
You take a surveyor. Okay, hold on, sir. You take a surveyor. That's what I advise for my clients.
Oh, that's okay.
I take a surveyor. When you tell me identify a piece of land, I take a surveyor there who picks the coordinates and comes back and give us the land information.
Wonderful.
So I don't need to go ahead with the conversation.
Thank you. I know that.
So if anybody now doesn't do that,
yes,
now comes for your services and you do a survey, I think it's your obligation to put it there if it's under government acquisition or not. It saves him a lot of trouble. He's probably paid 800,000 naira for that survey plan.
Yeah.
And it helps him at inception to know that what I'm going into, and it saves him a lot of money, millions of money that is going to shell out. So I think it's your duty to educate people at that time, not to take the government to court on this.
No, we've been doing that.
So why are you in court?
We've been doing that. But on the other hand, we see it as a situation whereby we've just talked about the client, even the government itself, the government that collects the record copy and the rest
I was going
of
to that. I was going to ask you on that.
Even the government itself, we believe that our own responsibility is to represent the land with its features, both man-made and artificial, properly, accurately, for people to use.
Which includes that.
And as soon as we do that, where our remuneration is due, whether from government or whoever. So for us to be mandated to now put it where we know that as soon as we put it, people develop that coffee and they couldn't be bothered.
Okay, I don't want us to overflog it. Quickly, for the last question would be, after I receive a copy of my document, my survey plan, what is the end process? Because some surveyors will give you the survey plan and you carry it around, but the registered copy, is nowhere to be found. They don't lodge it. So when you go in for probably you want to do your perfection, they tell you it's nowhere to be found. So how do I ensure that the surveyor registers that lodges the red copy at the Surveyor General's office?
You have, with due respect, you have used two words. We only used one. We only lodge record copy. We don't register.
Okay. Lodgement
Lawyers,
of the red copy.
Yes,
okay,
of the
sir.
record copy. But lawyers register subsequently down the line.
Yes.
With even that instrument
I take that back.
with the instrument that we produced, he registers in the land registry the land, and because there is a survey plan, they know the land that has been registered. So much is known about that.
So
land.
it is very imperative.
For us, within 1 month of having completed a survey assignment, you are expected to lodge the record copy of that particular survey plan with the Surveyor General of that state. The essence is that, for instance, the record copy contains far more information than the
blue copy that we have.
Yes, we call it black copy, but yes, it looks blue. But we call that you have. It shows the stages, the correctness, the accurate nature of the stages, and whether you really did it, the whole exercise in accordance with survey rules and regulations as it pertains to that state.
So in essence, it doesn't stop at your surveyor giving you the blue copy. You have to ensure that they lodge the record copy.
The record copy.
And you must get a...
That's for the surveyor.
Unfortunately, we must end the conversation at this point with our guest, but we still have a lot to chew and digest on the topic. So our guest has agreed to come next week to conclude the discussion. So make sure you don't miss it for anything. Coming up next is the design tip segment where Eniola Onola of Precise Lighting will be talking to us on lighting. Let's see.
Hi, my name is Eniola Onola, and I'm the CEO and Director at Precise Lighting. Welcome to our exhibition stand at the Made by Design Fair during the Design Week, Lagos. Today, I'll be showing you some of our designs that we have here at the exhibition booths, starting with this beautiful ceiling light. You know, when you have spaces and you don't have so much headroom, you have to consider lighting that does not interfere with the walkway. And you also need luminance, so it needs to be bright enough to be able to make everything visible. So you need to have lighting that doesn't drop. So lighting that flushes up to the ceiling is always ideal. You can have wall lights, you know, to accentuate your wall. You don't want to leave your wall bare. And then you have drop lights that you can put. You can center it on your dining, and you can also center it in your living room. It doesn't always have to be a surface mounted in your living room. You can have drop chandeliers in your living space. Now, when you're lighting up your space, there are certain things that you have to put in mind. Now, you need a lighting that would just be an ambience light. So aside from lighting, it's important to have natural lighting anyway. You can have spotlights in your living room. You can have one centerpiece in your living room. It can be just under your bed, a bit below. Toilets and bathrooms, they are very important. You don't want to go into a bathroom that it looks a bit dingy or bleak. You know, you want to go in, you want to be able to see yourself. If you have a mirror in there, you should be able to see yourself beautifully. In the morning, you're brushing your teeth, you want to be able to see yourself. You can have illuminated mirror lights in your bathroom. You can have spotlights. I always suggest spotlights in your bathroom. You can have 18 watts recessed lights, depending on how the layout of the bathroom is or the toilet.
Space and style.
I hope you learned 1 or 2 tips from Eniola, and I hope you incorporate them into your DIY interior designs. And to end the show this week is the artisan spot.
Actually, pé kí nǹkan wá nǹkan ṣe ni pé a fẹ́ báyàn máa tajà náà ni mí náà ń báyàn tajà gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọọṣẹ́. So láti bẹ̀ mo ti rí pé ọ̀nà tèmi náà lè ṣe lélẹ́yìí mo dẹ̀ fojú sí. I spent like 15 years lọ́dọ̀ ọ̀gá tí èmi náà wà kó tó di pé èmi náà dómìnira ti tèmi náà. Actually ẹni tó bá lówó ó lè tà àmọ́ ó gbọ́dọ̀ train nípa ẹ̀, ó gbọ́dọ̀ mọ̀ nípa ẹ̀, torí pé bí situation Nigeria ṣe rí nsìn, tí o bá ní o kówó lórí ọjà kan tó mọ̀ nípa ẹ̀, bóyá kíní ẹ̀ ti fall nínú market nsìn ò mọ̀, tí wọ́n kàn lọ rà, tí wọ́n bá fẹ́ ta tiẹ̀ nsìn wàá tà ní bad price ni, àfi kó mọ̀ nípa ẹ̀. So bó ṣe ń lọ wàá mọ̀ quality wàá mọ̀ quantity, pé tí n bá rà tó báyìí iye báyìí náà lè dí mi lórí ẹ̀, tó o bá ti mọ̀ nípa ẹ̀ o lè ṣe, àfi kó train nípa ẹ̀. It's all imported. Local wa náà wà but kò tí ì pọ̀ ń ta bí imported. The same thing even tá bá ní ká tún fojú wo nsìn ní local one títí wa gan ó yìí fẹ́ stand ju foreign lọ, but kò ń ṣe nǹkan tí tó wà famous táwọn èèyàn ti mọ̀ lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀. Àwọn èèyàn ń fi ojú pé local títí wa náà fi ń wò. Tó bá ká wo how long durability rẹ̀ bó ṣe long sí, tiwa gan sì tún ní àlàáfíà ju ti foreign one lọ. Fún àwọn táǹtà ń sìn àti wádìí lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó ń lò, wọ́n ti sọ fún wa, ìfún ẹlòmíì tó mọ̀ ọ́nù wọn máa ń request ẹ̀ pé nírú eléyìí o nǹkan báyìí ni kò bá mi wá, thickness ẹ̀ ó ju ti foreign lọ, torí ní foreign yẹn àwọn náà máa fún wọn ní measurement nǹkan táwọn fẹ́ látọ̀hún yẹn wá, but ti local ti wá ń sìn kó size tí a ti ń lò láti pẹ́tipẹ́ làwọn yẹn sì ń ṣe, àwọn náà kọ́ lè dídí ẹ̀ kú ń bẹ̀, so quality yẹn sì wà ń bẹ̀, bó heavy bó dẹ̀ strong sí. Challenge tá à ń dorúkọ ló ń bẹ̀ ń sìn ni pé bí situation countries rí ń sìn, torí pé tí a bá ra ọjà pé à ń tajà yìí ní 10,000 naira for instance ń sìn, ká tó ta ọjà tán ká tó dé ọjà wọ́n lè ní price ti increase, àwa dẹ̀ ti ta ní rate tí táwa rà, so ó máa ń jẹ́ ìṣòro fún wa láti pé nǹkan tá a ti tà ní low price a dẹ̀ dé market a tún bá ní high price. Always ni ọjà ń wọ́n, nítorí pé ó ń fún wa nírọ̀wọ́ ẹ̀sìn ọkàn lórí ẹ̀, tó yẹ pé owó tá a ní lọ́wọ́ gan kò fẹ́ ká agbára iṣẹ́ tá à ń ṣe gangan mọ́ ń sìn. Òun pé bí technology ṣe wà ń sìn, ifun bó ṣe jẹ́ pé bí irú àwọn tó mọ̀ pé ní baby color tíyàn wá rí color yẹn, àwọn tó jẹ́ àwọn expert nínú dí àwọn furniture yìí wọ́n lè ra bí off white ń sìn, wọ́n gbé kalẹ̀ kán sọ fún àwọn tó fẹ́ bá wọn spray pé nǹkan tá fẹ́ gbé kíkiní ìgbéjáde nìyẹn, ó máa gbé jáde mi fún bí irú plain color nìyẹn o, wọn lè rú àwọn tó jẹ́ design color ṣe. Kò ń ṣe pé mi ń ṣe pẹ̀lú ṣeré-ṣeré, ní tí mo ń ṣe pẹ̀lú life mi tí mo fi ń tọ́ ìyàwó àtàwọn ọmọ mi, wọ́n fi graduate tó wà ní university sí wà ń bẹ nísìnyí, so ní tí mo lè fi sọ́mọ lọ́wọ́ ni.
We have come to the end of the show this week. I am Olamide Onifade and thank you so much for watching. Until I see you again next week, this is Space and Style.